Welcome back to another edition of TV 31 on 1. As we said last week, going into this week, we were going to turn our attention to a man that people know the name immediately. When you say Stan Clark, you think Eskimo Joe's, you think Buffy and Joe, and you think about the conglomerate that is Eskimo Joe's. But we wanted to know more from Stan Clark. We wanted to know how this place truly got started. Where did the t-shirt sales come from? Where did all of that start? Where did the business side of Eskimo Joe's begin? Was it always prosperous? That's what we wanted to know eventually, but we wanted to start with Stan Clark and his upbringing. We wanted to know more about his first job, and we started with the fact that he felt like, even though he had a sister, he was an only child.
And we didn't have a lot of friends in common. 5 years, pretty big difference there. So once my sister left after, high school, I was pretty much like an only child, really, through the whole junior high school experience. And I enjoyed my parents a lot. I hung out with my mom and dad quite a bit. My dad being a pipeliner, I always loved his vendors, the guys that sold the heavy equipment. They were the funniest guys I've ever met. You can imagine pipelining culture, pretty colorful, and I just loved that and enjoyed that process a lot. And in fact, I still tell a lot of the jokes that I heard back when I was in high school from those guys. But so I just enjoyed that. But typical I think high school upbringing. Wasn't good enough to play sports past I think 8th grade basketball was my last year to be able to make that squad. When I went to high school, I did get in 6-hour gym because I didn't want to have to do regular gym. And I was able to do that by going out for golf. I wasn't very good, but at least it got me in 6 hours, and so I got to go play golf. Memorial High School was right next to La Fortune Park, which I used to beg my mom for $1.45 to get my green fee, and it was an all-day fee. And so once I got my $1.45 out of my mom, I'd just loop, La Fortune sometimes 45 holes, in a day, and almost run between shots. Just unlimited energy. Played a lot. Unfortunately, didn't have any lessons, so I was just getting more and more bad habits deeply ingrained. But I still have a passion for golf. I don't play a lot, but I still love it just as much as when I was a kid.
I'm surprised to hear you say you're high energy. Not at all surprised to hear that. What about grandparents? Was the Clark clan a big group? Was it especially at the holidays?
Well, all my mother and father's folks were from southeast Kansas, about 100 miles north of Tulsa. And so we went up there a lot. Independence, Kansas, where my father was raised, and my mom was actually from Elk City, which is a very small rural community just north of Independence. So, yes, there was a lot of family up there. My sister's first child made 5 generations 4 ways. So we had a lot of people that married early and had kids early, and so that was really pretty cool. My niece Laura, and then those extended generations. That was kind of fun.
Were you a good kid? Were you a rule follower?
Well, it depends on which kid.
Yeah. What rule? What rule was I supposed to be following? Whether I was going to follow that or not?
Oh, mercy. I knew enough to be very polite and to be a very good kid whenever I was around my parents and their friends.
So you're kind of like the Eddie Haskell of Leave It to Beaver. Is that what I just heard?
Well, I didn't say it.
I mean, but you knew how to be. So what about your etiquette on the golf course? Were you, even as a kid, were you like, okay, I'm not getting run off here. I know how to behave.
Yeah, my dad taught me etiquette early on. I always had respect for a golf course and a pool table, because those were things my father enjoyed and taught me the etiquette about those particular things. But I'm kidding. I think I was overall a pretty good kid, but I was a little ornery, like I'm sure like most. But anyway, like I said, though, I actually really did enjoy my parents and their friends, and so that those were kind of maybe if there was something somewhat unusual maybe about my upbringing, it might have been that I actually enjoyed being around my parents and their friends so much because, like I said, they were just a lot of fun.
Yeah. What about Christian influence? Did you have that growing up?
I did. I was raised at Boston Avenue Methodist Church, and so very strong church upbringing. I remember singing in the choir, and enjoyed that very much. But it's a beautiful old church, and yeah, it was just a great upbringing, and certainly was raised in the church, and I've always felt that I had a very strong Christian faith and belief.
So you're done Tulsa Memorial, 1971. Was there ever any doubt where you were going to go? How did you end up in Stillwater, America?
Have you tried TS Fork yet? They have great meals being served weekly on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But I want to tell you about their incredible Sunday lunches. Every Sunday from 11 to 2, you can drop in at TS Fork at White Barn Estates for a lunch like Grandma used to make. The menu changes weekly, but it includes selections like fried chicken, roast beef, meatloaf, and all the fixins. No reservations needed, special pricing for kids, and a great home-cooked meal at TS Fork. And while you're there, check out the gift shop with made-in-Oklahoma products and items you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at tsfork.com.
To all of our neighbors, friends, the people we see every day, we come to you today with no news or announcement, but to let you know what's on our hearts. Because quite simply, we feel honored. You're the reason that what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow. But you're also the reason we believe in the power of sharing the same neighborhoods and a loyalty that's bigger than any challenge. So this is simply thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to move forward and grow, but never lose sight of the roots that connect us. As we step boldly into a time of change and innovation, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities. Because you're the reason we love what we do and love where we live.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it. Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts.
Well, it's already been a good conversation with Stan, but some of the things you start to learn when you talk to Stan, you start finding out things about maybe stories you had no clue about. How on earth do you bag rocks and why do you bag rocks? You find out things like, what were you doing when man landed on the moon? And, of course, everybody always wants to know, when people come to Stillwater, how on earth did you get here?
Was there ever any doubt where you were going to go? How did you end up in Stillwater, America?
Well, that's really kind of a funny story. I didn't, my parents didn't start running me around in my junior year and looking at all kinds of colleges. In fact, it was fairly late in the summer after I graduated in May of '75, and I decided, well, I might go look at Oklahoma State. We had a neighbor whose son had a neighbor family, and a good friend had come this way. So I guess in the back of my mind, I was always thinking Oklahoma State. But I came over and had just one, very brief visit and decided, yep, Oklahoma State, here I go. And I've never looked back. You know, I loved OSU from the very get-go.
Well, and obviously you have, and I want to talk, I don't want to elaborate on that. But okay, your dad's a pipeliner or working with in doing those sorts of things. As a kid, did you have an idea what you wanted to be?
You know, I really didn't. My very first job, I was working at a nursery. It's called Stringer Brothers Nursery, and Mr. Stringer would bring in rocks of various kinds that people would use in landscaping. He had a very clever way for Steve, my original partner at Joe's actually, and we got this job together to bag rocks. And back in the day, we used to get potato chips in a round can about this tall. Charles chips, they were fantastic. But anyway, so that cylinder, take the bottom out of it, set that cylinder down inside this plastic bag, fill the cylinder, then you'd pull the cylinder out and you had a bag of rocks. That was my first job, bagging rocks. We got a nickel a bag. So that was my first job. My second job was at a place called Top Dog. And it was a small fast food hot dog joint. And the main reason I remember that job, well, there's several reasons, but first and foremost, I remember the United States of America landed a man on the moon.
Wow.
When I was on my evening shift at Top Dog. And I watched that event on a little black and white TV about that big. And so I'll never forget that. So that was 1969, I know. And so I guess I was a sophomore in high school and working at Top Dog.
And for a little while, America was the top dog.
How about
The
that?
first one landed the man on the moon. So you come to Stillwater, you visit, you go, okay, that's where I want to be. At that point, did you go, okay, I'm going to go to school because when I'm done, I'm going to go be something. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do that. Or did you have any clue at that point?
You know, I really didn't have any clue. But going back to my dad and kind of the way I was raised and spent a lot of time around my folks, he really talked to me about entrepreneurship and to think entrepreneurially really from the time I was just a kid. So actually, when I came over to go to the College of Business, I really was always thinking about how I would apply the principles I was learning to my own concern. Now, I didn't realize I was going to do it 2 months after I graduated.
Right.
No, not at all. But I really did think at some point in my life I would love to try to start a business of some kind. Didn't know what kind it would be. And, so anyway, with that backdrop, when I did graduate, then the Eskimo Joe story commences.
Sure.
And were it not for that kind of mindset early on, I probably wouldn't have ever jumped in.
So what was your first job in Stillwater? Did you work going through school at all?
I did. My first job in Stillwater was at Ken's Pizza.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's on North Boomer, and today it's Red Rock.
Yeah.
But that building was brand new. I was on the very first crew. My first job there was delivery guy, and my comp was $1.25 an hour. So that was in the fall semester of, let's see, I believe that was fall semester of 71. And I worked there fall semester and spring semester 72. By the end of 2 semesters, I'd been promoted all the way up to assistant manager, and I was making $2 an hour.
Wow.
So, it was a good gig. But I tell you what was really important to me at the time was that I got a shift meal. And by that, I got to make myself one 10-inch pizza every shift. And boy, that was a big deal to get a free pizza.
Well, absolutely. That's how most kids make it through school. And you certainly know with all the college kids you get. By the way, you and I have one thing in common then. When I first came to Stillwater, the first place I worked for was Pizza Hut.
Okay.
And I was making a whopping $3.15 an hour.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
No, but I never made it to manager. I would have never made that $5 an hour. Are you kidding me? So now you've been in a couple of different food industry places. You've
Right.
got the entrepreneurial spirit. You're being taught the College of Business education. What helped me get to the point where you sat down with your original partner and said, "Hey, I got an idea." How did we get there?
Well, first of all, it was his idea.
Okay.
Well, let's back up. Right, graduation day. I got to tell this story. So, instead of renting a cap and gown like 4,000 or so of my classmates did. I had the opportunity to deliver flowers that weekend in Tulsa for Woodland Flowers because I could make $20 cash.
Wow.
And I opted to deliver flowers on Mother's Day weekend instead of walk. So to give you an idea how much money I didn't have, that $20 bill meant a lot to me. So now, 2 weeks later, I'm laying on the couch at my friend's house named Steve File. Met him first day of 5th grade. So I've known him all of those times. Mentioned we had our job together, sacking the rocks, and, you know, grew up together. Steve owned this home at 303 South Ramsey all through college. His parents bought it for him when we were freshmen, and he always rented it out to guys we grew up with because it was 3 bedrooms, so more than made the mortgage payment. And when we graduated, they sold that house for 3 times what they paid for it. To give you an idea what was going on in the economy then, inflation was running rampant. It was crazy. So, but it also was a real estate deal that worked. So all these things are going on. And anyway, I'm laying on the couch at File's house, and he walks in and goes, "Hey, Clark, I'm going to open a bar." I go, "Well, Steve, that's a neat idea. I know where there's this cool little 2-story building for it. I'll go in partners with you." So we jump in Steve's 1953 Chevy, and we tool down to what's now Eskimo Joe's. It's a Sunday afternoon. We walk in, and I always say, as fate would have it, Dave Lambert was in there. And Dave Lambert and Bob Ham owned that building. They bought it just a few months before. And the reason I say as fate would have it, had he not been there, I don't know if we'd ever gone back. I mean, this was a total wild hair. And within about 10 minutes, we decided we'd lease it. We said, "Okay, we'll take it," you know. He said, "Now, boys, if you want it just like you see it, it's $350 a month. If you want me to put an air conditioner in, I'm going to need $400. We said, "We need air conditioning, sir."
Since 1957, the Hideaway has been a staple in Stillwater. Times may have changed since the Hideaway originally opened, but the great pizza and friendly atmosphere has never wavered. Stop in at 230 South Knobloch Street and try one of our specialty pizzas, including the Paradise Pie with Alfredo sauce, chicken, bacon, mushroom, spinach, and fresh tomato. Or for those meat lovers, check out the Big Country, featuring pepperoni, bacon, Italian sausage, Canadian bacon, and cheddar cheese. And for a starter, try the famous fried mushrooms. The Hideaway. Dine in or call 372-4777 for takeout or delivery.
From festivals and parades to the big spring game,
April in America's friendliest college town is going to be legendary.
Come ignite your flame with Payne County Pride, the first community-based Pride Festival here in Payne County.
with a new name and the same great music, the Stillwater Music Festival is set for 2 nights of blues, rock, and funk. Enjoy the sound of Morgan, the Val Gladden Band, Jennifer Marriott, and more.
Private party or a Payne party, we offer it here. At Stilliards, we teach art, dance, drama classes. Check out our awesome summer camp. Call today.
Legends Weekend is jam-packed with unique events including the Stillwater Arts Festival, OSU Cowboy Football, and the Remember the 10 Run, showcasing the vibe of America's friendliest college town. Honoring more than 58,000 Americans who died in the Vietnam War, The Wall That Heals is coming to OSU campus. Don't miss a beat in America's friendliest college town.
Check out our full listing of events at visitstillwater.org.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs, from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts.
Well, as I mentioned, when you get this name of Stan Clark and Eskimo Joe's, you always want to know the origin. It's always interesting to look back all these years later and find out how on earth this bar came to be. But what was it like when you went home and you said, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to open up a bar. That's what I'm going to do with my life"? How did they respond? And was it an investment opportunity for them as well?
And I mean, that was it. You know, we shook hands. The next day, Monday, we drive to Tulsa and tell our parents, you know, thanks for the help with the education. We're going to open a bar.
And Mom and Dad said what?
Woo! Well, I can't really tell you all that my dad said. My mom said, really? But, you know, but my mom is so positive. She wasn't really, really negative, but she wasn't thrilled with the idea. But my dad, you know, my gosh, he had been the one that encouraged me to think entrepreneurially. He really couldn't throw too much cold water on the idea, but he absolutely made it crystal clear he wasn't going to invest in it. He wasn't going to hand it to me.
The classes that you went through were different in some degree, but they were very similar to mine. And none of them said that here's what you do. You don't do any analysis. You don't figure the population. You don't figure the cost. You don't figure your fixed costs. You just don't worry about fixed costs. Leave those alone. And let's open up a bar. And yet, if it happened as quickly as you said, I'm assuming you didn't have a chance to do any of that.
Well, we certainly did not. But my dad, you know, in telling me, you know, that he certainly wasn't going to put any money into the idea, he said, well, I see you boys have a spark on your eye and you're serious about this. He said, you need to get back to Stillwater and do your homework. So do your pro formas, run some numbers, and make sure this is actually a good business idea. So we did that. You know, we came back, and the research was relatively easy to call the city and say, hey, what's the utilities on a 900 square foot commercial, you know, establishment going to typically run? Call an insurance guy, you get a quote like that, you know. So figuring out all the expenses, relatively easy.
Yeah.
Of course, the magic of entrepreneurship is taking the risk. You don't know what the top line's going to be. That's the wild, you know, the wild card. And so we ran some numbers real low, thought, surely we can do that much. Ran some kind of middle of the road numbers, thought maybe we can do that much. And then we ran some that, you know, with a little more volume. It didn't take too much volume for it to start really looking like a good business because the gross margin was good. But at any rate, you know, it wasn't terribly scientific. It probably would have gotten about a C- as a project for the College of Business. But it got me a loan at Stillwater National Bank, thanks to Rick Green, bless his heart.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you're throwing out names, obviously, people still very familiar with today that know exactly what that is.
Absolutely.
You know, it is kind of good to know you did the pro forma and you did some of those things, but I like this wild hair story better. that just adds a lot more character to this story.
Well, it was a wild hair, believe me. I mean, we'd already said we were going to do it. You know, it wasn't like we were going to go back on our word, and we shook hands. Heck, we meant it.
What was the first offering? What was on that first drink menu?
Oh boy, it wasn't much. I remember a draft beer was 30 cents.
Wow.
A pitcher was $1.35, and a long neck bottle of beer was 45 cents. So that was pretty much our menu right there.
Yeah.
Because that's all we had.
Sure.
It was the simplest business model in the world.
So you were selling out of kegs at the time, from the very beginning. How many employees do you have?
None.
Just you two.
Steve and me.
Wow.
That's right. And then the very first night, we hired our first team member out of the first night's crowd. You know, this gal walks in and gets closer and closer to the bar, and I punch this. Hey, you know, maybe she'd be our first employee. So we muster up the courage, you know, to ask her if she'd like to work there. And she just kind of stood back and looked at us with a big grin on her face. Says, yeah, Stan, I might work for you and Steve. We're like, what? And anyway, come to find out she was a younger sister of a guy I'd played basketball with in 8th grade.
Wow.
Her daddy had been our coach. And so she knew us, you know, we certainly weren't intimidating to her. But the reason I love to tell that story more than any other things, she worked there more than 2 years. And I hope that speaks to the fact that we understood how important people were to us, and the way we treated our guests was going to mean everything. And I remember we told her, just treat people just like they just walked in your house. We want them to feel right at home, and we're going to make them feel welcome and special, and we're going to show them a good time.
And so how long, because it's hard for people today. Now, when I came to town in 1990, I could see some of the original, right? I mean,
Right.
It wasn't long that you were expanding, but what of the original building and the two stories did you start with? Did you start with the downstairs bar? Were there upstairs both at the time?
No, just the downstairs, the original stone building. Upstairs was actually an apartment when we first opened. And so we blasted that poor soul out within about the first 2 weeks. and then we were able to rent the upstairs for a very short time. Steve and I lived upstairs, and we realized, we need to go rent an apartment somewhere else, and we need to expand the business.
Yeah.
So by fall of '75, just before the Bedlam football game that fall, we actually opened the upstairs. So basically doubled our space or our size within really the first few months.
What was opening night?
Opening night was July 21st, 1975.
75. And
75.
by what time did you open the top?
Just before the Bedlam football game in the fall, and I think it was near the end of the season, so probably November.
Now, so again, let's go back to our business education. Oftentimes a business won't show a profit or be able to expand for a couple of years even sometimes. You guys, obviously, this model worked for you guys almost out of the gate.
Well, it did. Again, I mentioned it before. Had a good gross margin, no receivables. Everybody paid cash, so we were cash flowing almost from the get-go. Now, we didn't pay ourselves. So with no labor and a nice gross margin, didn't take much.
Yeah.
If there was a little bit of money left over, we took it.
Yeah.
That was called a draw.
Yeah.
But at any rate, thankfully it was such a simple business, and our overhead was so low that we actually, the bank required, in fact, that I do compilation statements. That was just a requirement of getting a loan. You got to do statements every month. So we opened in July. By the end of August, we actually were in the black. I mean, it was minimally in the black, but we at least were generating a little more than it was costing us to run the place.
Where do you go for computer help? Gigabytes. Gigabyte staff are experts in virus removal, software updates, and faster running computers. Gigabytes also provides small business support and network support, including websites. And they do laptop screen replacements, and they do all kinds of cosmetic repairs as well. Whatever your computer needs, they are the ones that can provide you with the answers and solutions to get you up and running. Gigabytes, 918 South Main, open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, or call 533-1715.
There's only one place you should go for new and expecting moms. Charlie's Baby, inside Charlie's Drag. You can choose from a wide range of unique products to support mom before, during, and after pregnancy, and throughout her breastfeeding journey. Let our dedicated staff assist you in choosing the perfect gift to support mom or help spoil that precious baby. Our unique selection is guaranteed to make your gift their very favorite. Visit us today at Charlie Baby, inside Charlie's Drug.
From festivals and parades to the big spring game.
April in America's friendliest college town is going to be legendary.
Come ignite your flame with Payne County Pride, the first community-based pride festival here in Payne County.
With a new name and the same great music, the Stillwater Music Festival is set for 2 nights of blues, rock, and funk. Enjoy the sound of Morgan, the Val Gladden Band, Jennifer Marriott, and more.
Private party or a paint party, we offer it here. At Stilliots, we teach art, dance, drama classes. Check out our awesome summer camp. Call today.
Legends Weekend is jam-packed with unique events including the Stillwater Arts Festival, OSU Cowboy Football, and the Remember the 10 Run, showcasing the vibe of America's friendliest college town. Honoring more than 58,000 Americans who died in the Vietnam War, The Wall That Heals is coming to OSU campus. Don't miss a beat in America's friendliest college town.
Check out our full listing of events at visitstillwater.org.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
Have you tried TS Fork yet? They have great meals being served weekly on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But I want to tell you about their incredible Sunday lunches. Every Sunday from 11 to 2, you can drop in at TS Fork at White Barn Estates for a lunch like Grandma used to make. The menu changes weekly, but it includes selections like fried chicken, roast beef, meatloaf, and all the fixins'. No reservations needed, special pricing for kids, and a great home-cooked meal at TS Fork. And while you're there, check out the gift shop with made-in-Oklahoma products and items you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at tsfork.com.
Well, that's going to do it for part one with Stan Clark, but we're not done. We still have 2 more shows with Stan, really digging deep and trying to learn more about Stan Clark and more about Eskimo Joe's. Where did the name come from? Was it always going to be named Eskimo Joe's? We talk about that next time on the show. And we also talked about why the place went from serving beer to serving food. Why was that a necessity just to be able to continue to exist? That's next time on TV 31 on 1.